Harry Jupp was born on the 9th of September 1884 in Woodingdean near Brighton. By 1901 his family had moved to Surrey and they were living in Reigate. Harry and his father George worked as carters. Harry joined the 2nd Royal Warwickshire Regiment in 1902 at the age of 17. Then in 1909 they moved to Whittington Barracks between Tamworth and Lichfield in Staffordshire. Harry had reached 7 years of full-time service in April 1909 and he was entitled to spend the next 5 years in the Army Reserve. But he was still at Whittington Barracks at the end of the year, serving with the rank of drummer. At midnight one night in December, he was riding a bicycle at speed through Glascote when he accidentally knocked down a policeman. Harry was sent to court, but he claimed that his brakes had failed and the case was dismissed. Perhaps meeting a young lady encouraged him to leave the army. He was transferred to the reserve and on Boxing Day 1910 he married Bina Ann Broadhurst at St Editha's Church in Tamworth. In 1911, Harry and Bina were living at 10 Engine Lane, Glascote Heath. Harry was working as a road repairer in the mines, an important and dangerous job, ensuring that all the underground passages were level and secure. War broke out in August 1914 and Harry was called up. He and his brother William, both in the 2nd Warwickshires, were sent out to France together. And they arrived on the 4th of October 1914. Harry had just turned 30 years old. Unfortunately, neither of their service records have survived, but we know a great deal about what happened 17 days later. The war diary reads, Zonnebeek, 21st of October 1914. Enemy attacked our trenches at daybreak. First day of the Battle of Zonnebeek, Ypres. First experience of German high-explosive shell Black Marias. A great many casualties. Retired at 1 a.m. to railway crossing southwest of Zonnebeek. Harry and William were 2 of the many wounded. 10 days after the attack, the Tamworth Herald reported Glascote Heath man wounded. Private H. Jupp, A Company, 2nd Royal Warwickshire Regiment, Senior Assistant Scoutmaster of the Kettlebrook and Glascote Troop of Boy Scouts, writing to Mr. Locke, Scoutmaster Kettlebrook, on Sunday, states that he is in a hospital at Boulogne. He has been slightly wounded in the thigh by a bayonet. He hopes to be well again in the course of 2 or 3 weeks and to return to the firing line. His brother, William Jupp, is in the next bed to him, having been wounded with shrapnel on the same day. Private H. Jupp says, "We had a hard fight the day I got my lot. Killed hundreds of Germans. They were piling their dead in front of them for head cover. There were only about 100 yards between us and the Germans for 3 or 4 hours, but they came in such large numbers we were forced to retire. They did not pass the order along our trench, and about a company of us did not retire with the remainder. The Germans saw that, so they charged our trench, and this bounder caught me climbing out at the back of the trench. When I got on my feet, I nearly blew his head off, but of course I had to run for it. I did not trouble about my leg. They were pinging all the time over my head. The Germans fire from their hip, and the bullets go high. The rifle fire is no good at all, but they are good with the guns and Maxims." Harry was sent back to England, and he was later transferred to a convalescent home in the Isle of Wight. I cannot be sure whether he ever returned to the front. Harry's brother, Sergeant William Jupp, did go back to France, but a year later, almost to the day, he was wounded in action and died from his wounds, aged 26. He now lies buried in Fouquier-les-Béthune Churchyard Extension. On the 19th of November 1915, the Surrey Mirror reported, "Redhill brothers fighting shoulder to shoulder. Mrs. George Jupp, the widow of a corporation employee who lives at 87 Cromwell Road, has lost one of 3 sons who were serving with the colours. She has received official information that her second son, Sergeant William Jupp, 2nd Battalion of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment, died from gunshot wounds received in action on September the 25th and is buried at Bethune. Her eldest son, Corporal Harry Jupp, also of the 2nd Battalion Royal Warwickshires, is recuperating at a convalescent home in the Isle of Wight. And the youngest son, Private Frederick Jupp, is in France serving with the 8th Battalion, the Queen's Royal West Surrey Regiment. William Jupp went with his regiment to France on the outbreak of the war and was found later by his brother Harry, who was called up as a reservist. They were fighting shoulder to shoulder at Ypres in the spring, when Harry was badly wounded by a bayonet. The sergeant went to his assistance and carried him out of the danger zone, being wounded himself in the head by shrapnel. Sergeant William Jupp soon recovered from his wounds and his brother was sent to England. On the 25th of September, Sergeant Jupp was leading a platoon in the Great Advance when he was shot in the abdomen and died later in the day. The last letter Mrs. Jupp received from her son was dated September the 18th, when he stated he was in the best of health and had completely recovered from his wounds. It sounds as if a few details have been embellished in this article, but I think we can trust that Harry was still recuperating in the Isle of Wight in November 1915, more than a year after he was wounded. Harry was discharged in 1918 due to illness or disease and no longer fit for service. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal and the 1914 Star. He was also awarded the Silver War Badge, which was issued to members of the armed forces discharged due to wounds or sickness. Its primary purpose was to prove that a discharged person had served their country, and it was intended to protect them from being accused of cowardice. Harry found work as a bus conductor, coincidentally the same as my grandfather when he returned from war. His son, Maurice William Jupp, was born in November 1918. In 1921, his family were living at 8 Dordon Road in Polesworth with his in-laws, the Broadhursts. Sometime between 1921 and 1926, the little family moved to White House Road, Dordon, which was built in about 1921. In 1926, Harry's wife Bina was sent to court for assaulting a neighbour, Lizzie Gill. Bina's dog had got into Lizzie's pantry and taken a joint of meat. She went round to see Bina, who got into a temper, caught hold of her by the neck, tore her clothes, scratched her face, pulled her hair and pushed her about. Lizzie had refused to go away, and Bina said she had merely pushed her from the door and that Lizzie had responded by smacking her in the face. Bina was bound over to keep the peace for 6 months and ordered to pay costs. On December the 14th, 1926, Harry and Bina's son Maurice fell over whilst sliding on an icy footpath. 4 days later, he complained to his mother that his left arm was painful, and she treated him for a sprained elbow. Dr. Cowie of Polesworth was called in the next day and sent Maurice to Tamworth Hospital. Treatment failed to deal with the infection in the bone, and he died on the 1st of January 1927. He was only 8 years old. 2 years after the first incident, the Jupp's dog, a collie, was in trouble again. It was probably the same dog. Harry appeared at Atherstone Petty Sessions, accused of being the owner of a dangerous dog at large. He pleaded not guilty, but PC Taylor had seen the teeth marks and swelling on their next-door neighbour's 18-month-old child's elbow. Harry said he had never known the dog to do anything like that before. A witness, William Blower, said the dog had bitten him on one occasion and attacked him on another, and it was not fit to be at large. Harry replied that no one had complained to him about the dog, and it was always quiet. but PC Taylor had received several additional complaints since the incident under investigation. The court made an order for the dog to be destroyed. On the 21st of October 1932, Harry went to live at Oak Cottages, Ravenstone in Colville. He was still a bus conductor. Bina, now living at Dordon Road, Dordon, took him to court for desertion and applied for maintenance. The bench agreed to an order of £1 a week. In 1939, Bina was still married to Harry, but they were still living apart. Bina was living at 2 Brain Street, Glascote Heath, with none other than William Blower, he who had been a witness against Harry in the case about the dog. In the 1939 census, Bina declared herself to be his housekeeper. Was there something going on, or was it really a business relationship? In the meantime, Harry had moved into his sister Georgina's home in Redhill, Surrey. By 1939 he was ill and incapacitated. He died on the 20th of April 1940 and was buried in Redstone Cemetery. I have added Harry to find a grave and marked him as a veteran. Thanks for listening to his story and watching to the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bye for now.